Everybody, hello, and welcome back to 3 Plus One Media, where we are talking about tonight's State of the Union and the Republican response. Gentlemen, what do you guys think? What are your initial thoughts right off the bat?
The state of our
Oh,
union is strong. Go ahead, Kenny. What are you gonna say?
no, are we talking about the State of the Union, Biden, or are we talking about Republicans' response? Because you already know they're going to act a damn fool.
Oh my God. So Republican response. I'm not. We just cut Katie Britt off. We just listening to
Yeah,
Katie.
just go, we're gonna like to start in order. Just start right off the bat with the actual State of the Union and
It
what
was
your initial thoughts are on that State of the Union.
the State of the Union. The State of the Union was good. Biden did exactly what he needed to do. He created the structure to demonstrate that there is a stark difference between Trump and Biden. One, done. Because everybody always talking about, the same parties are the same thing. No, they're not. He created the stark difference. He addressed many different things. First of all, he said something that has never been done before in a State of the Union. He called out the justices to their face. He said, "You all said that that women are not void of electoral and political power. They're about to show your ass." Therefore, and I love how they panned it, right? They showed the justices and what their response was. They were shocked. They were appalled. How dare you, me and my robe? I love that. I love the fact that he took it to Marjorie Taylor Greene's ass. She decided to be a fucking fool like we knew she would. Try to say something during his speech. Said, say her name. He picked up that pen. And he said, Laken Riley. But he also said, if you want to fix this problem, vote for the bill. Y'all let your leader, Donald Trump, my predecessor, because that's all he said. My predecessor. He never said the name, which I thought was also masterful. He said, my predecessor told Republicans in this room to not support the bill. And you tanked it. Let's fix it. He talked about gun violence. He talked about the fact that, they needed to pass some of the bills. What's going on? Why aren't you all doing anything about it? He said in Iowa after the shooting, get over it. I'm saying let's stop it, right? Like there were stark differences. I really appreciate a lot of the things, but I wanted to hear your perspective, Zach, because you said that you like what he said about immigration, the clapback.
Yeah, I like the clapbacks. I really do. I really appreciate all of those pieces of it. One thing I want to say too for everybody who's watching, like, let us know who you are. We are for the first time. This is my first time ever streaming to YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook all at the same time. So if you're on any of those platforms, YouTube is where we usually come and do these lives. But again, we're trying to reach a broader audience because it's not about likes, views, or any of that right now. It's about getting the message out and really having the discourse go wide so that we really get a variety of thoughts shared and that we really get the message out there. The president did a phenomenal job tonight. There was no better. I hate this. I mean, I don't want to over exaggerate, but this was the best speech I have heard President Biden give in the time he's been in the White House. I've heard no better speech from him. And I can't say that, I can't say I expected it. I didn't. I thought that he was going to get up. He was going to talk about the facts. He was going to do a good job. But I didn't expect this to be the best speech that I've heard from him. There are so many gripping issues if we let mainstream news media tell it. There's so much confusion and division, but we didn't get any of that from tonight's speech. What we heard was a crystal clear message that was absolutely on message. And I think that every single issue he hit was a home run. When you talk about the economy, to me, he nailed it. He had a message for the middle class. When you talk about immigration, he did a phenomenal job of shifting the responsibility for where we are to where it belongs. The border has been a crisis for decades. To think that one man can solve that problem in 3 years has been ridiculous. The fact that you would have that happening there, you have someone as disrespectful as Marjorie Taylor Greene coming to the people's house and doing all the theatrics that she did in a Make America Great Again hat, which is against Florida quorum and rules, and be allowed to do it. He handled it well. He clapped back well. He went off script, and he went off script without any incidents. Kitty, what do you think? Because I know that you probably looked at it with a little bit of a different vantage point than what we even looked at it as.
Well, I think, and I'll just go ahead and say it because I sent out the tweet earlier. I think Joe Biden proved that he might be 81 years old, but he proved tonight that he's 46.
That's right.
He
That's
was
right.
clear and concise. I love the fact that he talked about how we're turning a setback into a comeback after following a pandemic. We got 15 million new jobs,
Mm,
record low unemployment. We
mm.
literally turned our inflation from 9% all the way down to 3%. I mean, we have the numbers are on Joe Biden's side.
Woo!
And people can argue all day about how they feel, but let's argue about facts. And so let's argue about numbers because the numbers don't lie, but people do.
Oh,
I love the fact that he called out Republicans, especially when it came to the infrastructure law. I love the fact that he said that it's funny that you guys voted against the infrastructure law, but yet you guys are cheering it on in your districts. So it's interesting enough that they are willing to take the money from the federal government about a law that they did not vote for, but
right,
yet want to tout it as an accomplishment as if they're actually providing to their constituents when they are not.
right. But
I
here's
love
the
the fact, yeah, one last thing. I just love the fact that, again, to your point earlier, I love the fact that he never addressed Donald Trump. I do not believe in giving Donald Trump a voice. I don't believe in saying his name. I treat him like Lord Voldemort, okay? He who should not be named.
Mm.
I love the fact that he was able to slap them in the face. But it's funny that you can only love America
Mm,
only when you win.
mm, mm. I love that. But
That was
again,
the sound bite of the night. That was one of the hot. That was one of
He
those
was dropping
viral
bars.
moments.
There was
Yeah,
bars, okay?
that's one of the
Cardi B
viral
and Nicki
moments
Minaj
that's
ain't got
gonna. Yeah.
nothing on it.
fucking shout out to the senior what is that? Advisors to the president. Anita Dunn did her motherfucking big one. Anita Dunn, a lot of people, and she's the what I've seen some different articles that have been written about Anita Dunn, who wrote a lot of the speech or who was a lot in that process. Shout out to her because there was a CNN article that was calling her the brawler in chief, and I see it. She wants to get on that street and she wants to fight. And I appreciated the fact that Biden was on board and he was able to deliver the message in the way that he needed to deliver it. And here's why: a lot of people on social media, as I was tweeting and everybody's coming through, a lot of the reasons why people feel that this was the best speech he's ever given is because he took the fucking gloves off. And he said he did exactly what I said in the last video. One of the last videos that I did was that this idea and this concept that a statesman or a stateswoman needs to be the person there is dead. It is over. It doesn't mean don't walk in that room and have conversations without couth, without tact, without decorum, without empathy. But this was a master class. Let me say that again. This was a masterclass in how you do that, how you are able to clap back in a presidential way, but you're able to still demonstrate to the people that are following you, to your base, to the independents, to the moderates who may not have thought, I don't know who I'm gonna vote for this 2024 cycle. They got it clear in today that the message is I'm a fighter and I'm here to protect and expand voting rights. I'm here to protect and expand reproductive rights. I'm here to protect and expand education access. I'm here to protect and expand. And by the way, let me not also say this. He mentioned the whole Gaza and Israel-Palestine conflict, right? And he talked about it, but he said, we're calling for a ceasefire for 6 weeks. This has been in conversation. Not only that, we're gonna create a port where we're gonna make sure that we facilitate the flow of humanitarian aid and assistance directly to Palestinians
And
Gaza.
that's huge. That's people. That's something. Yes, that is huge. That is huge. We're gonna go right to it because it's so big. I think. I planned this out, right? So I made a PowerPoint. It's in order. We're not going in order, which is fine. Because we just go like live. We just do a live. And I'm gonna skip and come to it. I'm gonna first talk. I want to just briefly talk about just let it go right to Gaza, but I want to talk about the brilliance of what he did in the beginning of the speech. President Biden made this speech about freedoms, and he referenced back at the beginning of the speech in 1941, President Delano Roosevelt's Four Freedoms speech. The Four Freedoms speech is one of the most iconic speeches of the 20th century. And for him to do that so cleverly, and for his speechwriters to have woven that into the beginning, it was beautiful because America is in a very similar place. Are we going to let the Nazis of the 21st century win again? Are we going to let that happen? Are we going to let them reform? Are we going to let them have a chance? And the fact that he did that at the beginning of the speech is something I think a lot of people out there miss. But the AP language and composition teacher that is in me could not let that go by. Now, when we slide over and we move over, Brian, right to, let me just skip to the whole discussion with Gaza, right? Because you did a phenomenal job to the Malcolm X app with the excrement that you dropped right here. And you said, Brian, you read it just like you tweeted it.
Biden, Israel must do its part. To the Israel government, I say this: providing humanitarian aid must not be a secondary priority. He called for a ceasefire and setting up a port on coast of Gaza to ensure the humanitarian aid and assistance gets to the Palestinians directly. Back to you, Zach.
And what I mean, think about it. Like everyone has been demanding
Yes.
for America to do so much more than what they possibly can do.
Yes.
But President Biden and his defense team and they are sitting down and looking at what can we do because this crisis is something that we have to address, and he's addressing it. He is going directly into Gaza and he is setting up stations to give direct relief. The food drop for some people would have been, more than enough. To be honest with you, I hate to say this, when I listen at the horrific rhetoric from Republicans in Congress and I don't think he would have gotten food drops. I think he
No.
would have gotten an escalation of what's happening in Israel that would have been catastrophic and detrimental to the remaining people of Gaza. And I don't have a problem going on record and yes, calling it a genocide and condemning Benjamin Netanyahu and saying that what the Israeli government under the leadership of Benjamin Netanyahu is doing is abhorrible, that it was an apartheid state that has now turned into a genocide of that apartheid state, and that the whole world, not just America, not just President Joseph Robinette Biden and the United States government, but the whole entire world should be called to action and should be doing exactly what President Biden is doing, is giving immediate aid and also giving immediate support and funding, which President Biden brought back after President Trump took the aid for the Palestinian people out of the budget, but also pushing hard on Benjamin Netanyahu to move towards a legitimate end to the conflict and a two-state solution that can be achieved by Benjamin Netanyahu. And not saying that, Hamas, because that's a terrorist organization, totally different approach, right? But again, the solution is exactly as President Biden has always stated: a two-state solution. Kenny, Brian, I had to say it. It was too much. I had to get it out.
Well, I think the main part is I had to make sure I quoted this part. He said it directly, and he addressed Israel. He said, I say this to Israel: humanitarian efforts should not be a bargaining chip.
Agreed.
I
Yes.
love the fact that he brought that up, and I love the fact that he also brought up the fact that he has been in the months of work trying to get a ceasefire deal on the table. Now it's literally in Hamas's hands on whether they take that ceasefire deal or not.
Mm. Agreed. I mean, and again, the reality of it is we understand that this needs to be a multilateral operation. And I appreciate, again, what Zach is saying. Like, we need to make sure that we get all these other neighboring countries in the region to the table to talk about how a humanitarian assistance, aid, and a conversation around a two-state solution can actually be something that's viable. But that doesn't happen if America doesn't have hey care. That doesn't happen if you
Oh,
don't.
ain't she beautiful? I love it.
Always look at the light, and she killing it. But you don't have that if America doesn't have its sphere of influence, its scope, its hegemony, and being able to bring those people to the table. And again, with the other side, having Donald Trump be the person who's in that seat, in that driver's seat, we don't bring a multilateral solution. There is no conversation with additional countries. There's no conversation about humanitarian aid flowing into Gaza. There's none of that. As a matter of fact, he has been flippant and cavalier in his approach and attitude, and how he has said, carpet bomb them. Just do whatever you do, right? Whatever it is just showing
It is inhumane and it is horrific. He is propelling a movement towards towards the Holocaust. He is encouraging his supporters. He is signaling to people of the world that is the okay behavior. You have Republican Congress people sitting around here saying that and repeating that exact same rhetoric. That is what you have under a Donald Trump. That's what you have when that man is given a platform and is given a voice.
But Zach, let me also say this. He said the same thing about Putin, right? Biden made sure that he mentioned the fact that Donald Trump said that Putin could do whatever he wants to any other country. And he was like, I will not allow that. That is unacceptable. He called it all out. But Kara, I wanted to hear from you. What did you think about the State of the Union? Because this was for me, it was amazing.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So I was just like, Sleepy where? Sleepy If this is sleepy, give me some of that sleepy, because I think he did amazing. I think that I really, really loved how he touched on housing, because this
Mm,
is something we don't hear a lot. We have not heard an administrative position and a proposition for a housing plan and that tax credit. I remember the Obama tax credit for first time home buyers. That was the first time I purchased a home, actually. It
mm.
was a huge benefit. But then also to include uh, homeowners who then want to just move up so that they have the opportunity to take advantage of tax breaks. I mean, truthfully, I don't know how anyone could watch this speech and think that he is not capable, that he has not had the accomplishments, and that there is not such a stark contrast between the positivity of a president that believes in America and that believes in the good, and that Trump, who literally was calling us a shithole country earlier today. So,
Correct. And with the taxes, I also appreciated the fact that he talked about. He said, "Well, what do we think about? Do you all think that the tax code is fair?" He literally had lawmakers in that chamber say no. The fact that you got that on record, I've never seen that before. I've never seen that before in my lifetime, a State of the Union. You know that.
The performative lies of
Mm,
Republican lawmakers they can't continue. Like they realize it. Even poor Mike Johnson, and there was a beautiful moment where our sister, and I love to, our sister. Let me, this is what our sister said. Our sister Shantae said. I'm going right to it. Let me pull it right up. Our sister Shantae said that this man was the Keebler Smurf speaker. I have never heard someone take the Keebler elf and the Smurf Nation, okay, and combine them together and name them Mike Johnson. But our sister Shantae did that. And I couldn't say I had to agree more. Even the Keebler Smurf speaker was sitting there agreeing with things that President Biden was saying because he knew them to be true.
Zach, I'm gonna give you credit for this because you pulled this shit fast.
you did.
This was
Oh
live.
yeah, he was screenshotting. Okay, king of
It's called
receipts.
production. It's called production.
Production.
Kenny, what did you think about talking about the taxes and the rent control and stuff? Because he talked about big corporations buying up all these different units and being such predatory landlords for all people. Like, what did you think about that? Because I thought that was good too.
No, I thought everything was great. I think the main takeaways for me is the fact that he was calling them out on their BS
Right.
and holding their feet to the fire and allowing the people to see what type of performative actions these people take. They play in the faces of American people every day, especially like when we were talking earlier about immigration. It's funny they want to talk about our bipartisan bill that they helped to write, by the way,
Right.
that they decided to vote against. So everything, he kind of threw everything at them when it comes to the housing crisis, when it comes to the taxing, when it comes to prescription drugs, when it came to inflation. He kept putting it right back in the hands of Republicans because all of these things they do absolutely nothing about. It's all about gaslighting the American people so the American people can make their decision come November to get these people out of office so that we can move forward. Like Biden said, it's not about his age, it's about how old your ideas are.
Yes. And can I say, and I'm going to say this, I don't know if I can say it, but I think it's important to say it because it's that's how the messaging gets out. The reality is it was important for the Biden administration to talk and for Biden himself to be up there and talking about rents and to talk about predatory rents and to talk about these landlords and to talk about home ownership, because the reality of it is that while the economy is getting better empirically, the data consistently shows record unemployment numbers that have been consistently low for not only like the general numbers, but we're talking about specific the Black community, the Latino community, the Asian American community. You have all of those numbers, right? We're doing amazing, but somehow people are still feeling that crunch, and because of that, it's some of that stuff is rent, some of that stuff is home ownership, some of that is the tax cuts that they're not getting because it's really for the millionaires and billionaires. And the reality is, and people, we need to understand this, the people in the administration understand that, right? Like the people in the administration understand and wanted to make sure that we get across the message that like, yo, we see you, we hear you. There's some additional work that needs to be done, and let's get it done because we can. And I think he positioned himself to be able to say that message clearly. What did y'all think?
Look, the most important thing that we have to do is find a way to get the word out about the economy and really help people understand how the economy works. People don't understand economic indicators, and people don't want to. People don't understand it. People also have short memories, and they don't really understand what their lives were like in 2019. If people could go back in time and look at their bank account statements and look at how much money they made in 2019 and compared it to how much money they're making in 2024, I think they would see, for many people, uh, an increase unless you have undergone a career shift and a career change, as many Americans did. Many Americans went from working for someone to now working for themselves during the pandemic, and they continued that out. But even though they made that shift, some Americans who made it have been extremely successful, but some of them have not been, and they're blaming that on the American economy when it may be something else to blame. I'm going to say something very harsh, and I'm going to get big and say it, and you guys can
Say
uh,
it.
record it and put it all over social media. It's going to hurt when I say it, but I think that if sometimes hurt words resonate truth, some, not all, but some of the people who are right now hurting financially. You would have been hurting if it was 1992, 2002, 2022, in the same way you're hurting in 2024, because the problem isn't the American economy. The problem is you. That's for some people, not all, but some. And it's because of what you are or are not doing to improve and better yourself. The economy can't fix that. It can't fix it.
Well, let me just
Yeah,
say
I
one thing
I
that
just want to say
go
that.
ahead, Carrie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to say, if you actually do dig into the numbers as far as inflation, one of the biggest key drivers in the inflation rate right now is housing costs.
Right.
And so I think it really is important, like Brian was saying, is that does get acknowledged
Yeah.
because yes, we are making more money. And yes, inflation has eased. But the president was absolutely right with these landlords out here. They are just taxing the shit out of people. So you can't catch a break if your rent just went up 30%. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And you can't catch a break. You can't buy a home because interest rates are ridiculous. And also there's no, the corporations are buying up all the starter homes. So it was really important because you do, particularly millennials, they know exactly, yeah, I got a good job. Yep, I'm making good money. But damn it, my rent is $2,700 a month.
Come on.
What the hell can I do with that? And so I think I have been waiting for this administration to delve into the housing crisis, and I really love that was brought up in the speech today.
Agreed. Marshall Fudge
Well,
has been doing the work.
Yep.
exactly. I was about to say something about it. Okay, so it's no news that I live in restricted income housing. So thanks to the Biden-Harris administration, they raised the amount of how much money you can actually make to actually qualify for this. Literally, I was like maybe $2,000 right within that margin to where I could be in the place that I'm in now. Well, I mean, it's not cheap, it's not expensive, but I mean, it's good for anybody who's just trying to save some money at the same time as trying to live in this high inflated world. But for the most part, I want people to understand a lot of these programs that's been spearheaded by Marshall Fudge and HUD, Republicans are trying to cut funding to. So
Yeah.
all these
Or they're
resources
cutting
are
it, or and
available.
and you live in the state of Maryland, where you have a phenomenal governor. But again, like those opportunities that you speak of, they're not available to people in the South. That's not
Right.
available to people in Georgia. I know people who have had housing that they've had their housing subsidized because they are living with the advanced stages of HIV, and they've been getting support and had support. But our governor has declined to get that support, and people are in jeopardy of losing everything and being homeless
Yeah.
while they live and try to survive and thrive with HIV. That is the reality of what happens in Republican-led states in this country. So even when the federal government does great things that can push down and benefit the people, when you have Republicans in power who are hell bent and determined to stop the people from being helped, they can't get
Yeah.
the help.
Agreed.
That's true.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, and
And
go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say that really just leads to, voter apathy because, voters just feel like, well, I haven't seen anything. Like, I hear you saying all these great things, Joe Biden, but it's not coming to me, and there isn't anything to, and that's obviously, we all know why the Republicans do that, because if they actually did have a population that was doing well and that understood that the government could work for them and could provide benefits for them, they would never vote Republicans in ever again.
Agreed.
And so they know that.
Can you put up, Zach, can you put up that comment from Advocacy Arena again? Because it made me think about the other thing, gentrification. So gentrification in some areas driving people out and increasing housing incomes costs. Yes. Also corporate greed, as we're talking about, with all these corporations buying up all the places and then providing, like, being able to move the rent prices as fluctuating.
And they started doing that under Trump. Like, make no mistake, I want to go, like, Zillow started that move under Trump.
Right. But then you also have corporate greed at the grocery stores and stuff. I think a lot of these corporations are taking the narrative of inflation, being able to capitalize it and say, oh, well, they think it's inflation, so let's drag our prices up anyway. But empirically, the data shows, again, that those prices are normalizing out and are low. So you have those things. I also think that it's important to talk about income. The fact that he talked about, raising the minimum wage, right? Raising the minimum wage. He said $7 an hour, and some of these places, I've seen them be as low as $5, $50, $6 an hour, depending on the region. Like, I've seen those numbers. And so those are not dignified numbers for a livable wage. And he's saying, let's do that. He's doing, once again, what I've been saying is, you have to position yourself in a way that shows that you're a staunch fighter, okay, for protecting and expanding rights, protecting and expanding, these not entitlement programs. That's not what they are. They're safety nets for people who need them. There's always going to be most indigent people around in our society. How are we providing for them in a communal way and showing that they're dignified of living, but we are also going to support you? I think that was important. And saying things,
you can call it entitlement, you can call it welfare, you can call it food stamps, you can call it whatever you want to call it, because it is what it is. It is what is owed to the American people in this nation by its government.
Yes.
I pay more taxes than I would ever want to pay. And I pay them proudly because I know that it is benefiting families and people in this country who need it. I think about my great grandmother who received food stamps and SSI or whatever she received until the end of her life. And it was something that put food on the table, and it carried our whole entire family over troubled times when the times were there. Those things, it's my responsibility as a good American to be proud to give back and to continue to do that so families have that. And it is, I was going to say, a damn shame. I was going to say really a GD shame, but I'm not going to say it, even though I kind of just said it, that we live in a country where there are Republicans and people who have benefited from these programs who want to tear it away and ensure that the next generation of Americans can't survive, and they don't have it.
That's right. That's right.
And since we're talking about SSI, can we talk about how Joe Biden basically said, and verbatim, that if they try to cut Social Security or raise the retirement age, he will stop them?
That's right. Can we talk about, but here's another thing, and I wish this would be another thing. Never mind. Just go. Keep going. What was the next thing?
No, what were you going to add in? And I'll just transition it.
I was just going to say that I think one of the things that would be and I was talking about this, that would be a landslide victory for Democrats, is if they talked about UBI, right? If they talked about universal basic income, period, right? If they talked, but not in a way of people versus people, but in a way of it's AI. AI is about to create automation and take away some jobs, right? And so being able to say that we want to protect people from AI and there's benefits and net goods to it, but being able to say that we want to protect the American people from some of those things can also be beneficial. I think that there are people who, and we looked at some early statistics and data, me and my friend were looking through some, and even poor Republicans want that. Poor white Republicans from some of these states and the Rust Belt states that are concerned about their manufacturing jobs or laborious jobs going away would prefer to see it, because usually you would see, okay, people fight against their own interest. And it is what it is. We know that is true. There are poor white people sometimes who vote against their best interest if they know, and there's data and psychological studies
and uneducated Black people as well. I mean, like, let's call it out. The statistics are there. Unfortunately, we are losing a whole entire group of Black voters who tend to not have college education, who are being persuaded by the false means of social media to say that maybe life is better under Trump, because it's there. It's not the numbers that they want us to believe it is, but it's there.
Yeah, I mean, Biden did kind of address that a little bit about the uneducated, voter who does not have a college degree with the Chips and Science Act bringing manufacturing jobs
Yes.
back. We got 800,000 manufacturing jobs under
Yes.
Biden. So he's bringing the jobs back. So
15
he
million.
was able to talk about that.
15 million jobs. He made sure to say that. He made sure to give the statistics and the numbers. He made sure to talk about the unemployment rate being records low. You know what I'm saying? So, yes. So,
and Donna Kev, you're dropping facts too. Like Donna Kev is dropping facts, boom, boom, all throughout, and just like advocacy arena.
But
But yeah,
But to your point, Brian, as far as UBI, who knows? Maybe under a Harris presidency, we might get universal basic income because that's what she ran off of in 2019 when she was actually running for president with the
yes.
Lift Act.
Yes.
So who knows what the future holds?
But because it's a good policy. It's a good policy, and they champion it. They champion it, and it's a good policy, and it'd be something that would be nice to be bringing up to the forefront. But again, even with that, like you're talking about some of these things that are going to affect vast majorities of the population. This was not. Make no mistake about this. This was not just a conversation to the base. This was not just a let me excite the base. This was a let me make the case for the base. Let me make the case for the independents and the moderates who may be on the fence, and let me also talk to those people who vote Republican, that old Republican guard that is just very disillusioned with not only their party, but be pissed the fuck off and will never forgive Trump for what he's done to their party and say, oh shit, he's saying he wants to fix the border. He actually brought a solution to the table, but Republicans voted against it because the leader of their party right now just tanked it. But this is something we've been fighting for a long time. And again, I'm not saying that this bipartisan deal and this policy would have been the be all end all. I'm not saying that at all. I think immigration policy is a very complex and intricate policy that we need to be able to introduce for a solution. But it was a damn start. It was a damn start. And it wasn't just put money towards a fucking wall that's going to be ineffective. It's let's talk about these Afghanistan, refugees that came over to this country when they were the ones for 20 years helping our asses when we were in Afghanistan. Part of the bill that people don't talk about, because people don't know, is part of that. And it was also tanked. So, you know what? It was at the end of the deal, this was a win across all boards for all segments.
Absolutely.
I wanted, Carrie, what were you going to add in?
Well, I was just going to add in, I don't know if you guys saw, but they did a study, an actual reputable study and polling on how the Democrats can attack the messaging with regards to that bipartisan deal. And what they found is that when the Democrats go on the offense, as far as like, yep, we got a bipartisan deal done, it changes this and it shortens the amount of time, but when you get a truck, you get actually in front of a judge, it secures our border with all the scanners and all of that. When they go on the offense, it actually erases a 15-point lead with independents that Republicans currently have. With independents, also with Republicans, it erased a 2-point lead, or the Democrats went up by 2. I mean, not to get into the nitty gritty of like the numbers, but politics is a numbers game, y'all. And if they look at and just say, listen, this was our weakest issue with the American public. The Republicans have hammered at home immigration. They have used fear mongering, and we all know that fear mongering works. And now that has become front and center, and they completely screwed it up by killing that deal. And I think what Biden did tonight was exactly what he needed to do. And I loved how he threw Marjorie Taylor Greene's little stunt right in her face. Right in her face. He said her name. And he was like, yeah, let's fix it.
Correct. Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene came in here ready to do stunts and shows, and her stunts and her shows failed. Her old tricks ain't working no more. I mean, people have allowed her to disrespect everything that the American Congress stands for. And here she comes wearing a Make America Great Again hat, holding up pens, harassing and heckling our president. And he took control of that moment, and he used that mic to get her straight and put her exactly where she belonged, in her place. I believe, y'all, I don't want to be too bold. But let me get big and say it. I'm going to say something else that's like going to be controversial, but you know me. I don't mind being the controversy, and I do not mind being the villain of the group. I firmly do believe that when Donald J. Trump is defeated in November, soundly by one of the largest margins of popular vote loss in history, the MAGA movement will finally end. And I believe that you're going to see a quick and decisive shift away from MAGA, as well as people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think that they are going to be slowly washed away, like those Tea Partier people, Sarah Palin and that whole entire ilk of group were washed away. Now, I'm not saying that something else isn't going to replace it. That could be far more nefarious. I am not saying that. I am just saying that the Donald Trump's reign of terror will end in November, and all of his cronies and people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who really have absolutely no right to be representing people from the great state of Georgia or any place in America, will no longer be able to sit in Congress. I believe that, and I'm going to go on the record and say it.
Well, we're going to pull this back up.
I hope so.
Right. Here's what, but I just want to say this, and Kenny, I know you were going to say something, but let me just say this real quick. Marjorie Taylor Greene did this stunt and put that hat on and all this stuff because she knows she's on Trump's short list to become the vice president on the ticket. Here's what I'm also going to say. The whole thing about this was not only did Biden do what he needed to do to put her in her place and, put the Republicans in their place. The reality is, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you will not, and I repeat this again, you will not be the vice presidential pick, because if there is any conversations that are happening within that camp that are competent, and I'm being very generous right now by saying I think that there's some people that are at least competent. They may be evil as fuck, but I'm saying I'm being generous in saying if they have any competence, they know this chick right here. Hold on, let me. No, this right on this side. I don't know how to fucking point, but anyway, that this chick right here is not gonna move the needle in any which way for him, because she's not gonna reach out to. The reason why Mike Pence was chosen for the ticket was because he brought evangelicals. He was that person to bring the evangelicals. He was that conservative Republican, very old guard, very. But what do they have? His short list for vice president picks is Tucker Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tim Scott.
You know it's gonna be Tim Scott. Now you know it's gonna be Tim. You know that.
Go ahead. Hold on, Zach. Make yourself bigger and say that again. Do the gun.
No.
It's gonna be Gumby.
You know it's gonna be Tim Scott.
It's gonna be Gumby. It's gonna be possibly Big Two, Mr. Beaver. Or Mr. Ed.
That's who it's going to be. That's who it's going to be. He believes. I mean, Donald Trump. I hate to say this, y'all, but y'all gonna get me in trouble. But look, Donald Trump, like many racists,
he's trying to use somebody.
He
has
all
black
people
token.
Yeah. We're all the same. There's no difference between Tim Scott and Michael Jordan in the eyes of a Donald Trump. Okay, like they're all the same. So any black man will do just fine to get other black men to follow behind them blindly, because that's what black people do in his mind. Okay, so it'll be Tim Scott.
He called that guy from South Carolina the bit better than Martin Luther King Jr. and Martin Luther King Jr. times 2.
Actually, I think he said he was Martin Luther King Jr. on
steroids. He said it. Yeah,
he did say that.
Who's on what? Wait, who's Martin Luther King on steroids?
The Republican nominee for the governor of your former state, North Carolina.
Oh, hell no, he's lying.
No, it's North Carolina.
It's North Carolina?
Okay. Yeah, it is.
It's North Carolina. And that's a disaster. That man, the things that he said, Mark Robinson, thank you so much, James. I mean, everything about this guy is horrific. I got a piece of content coming about him on next week. He's in queue for Monday. And this is the things he said about women, the things he said about, the LGBTQIA plus community is egregious. It's egregious. I mean, it's egregious.
Yeah.
He called for the mass killing of a group, and that's all I'll say for now. But I have all these sound bites of what he said in church.
Yeah.
At the pulpit. It's horrific.
He says that black people actually.
I want to know. I hate to do it.
Hold on. Carrie was saying something. Carrie, what were you saying?
He said that black people actually owe reparations to
what
the United States.
What was the response to
Wait a minute, hold on.
our Democratic dissenters?
I don't think Zach can hear us.
I don't think he can either.
Zach.
Zach, can you hear us?
I don't think he can hear us.
He
I
might
don't
be
think he
having
can
technical
either.
difficulties. But as far as
Wait,
this
can
goes,
anybody? Can we hear?
can
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me
We
now?
can't hear.
Can you hear
We
us?
hear you.
Oh no. See, this is what happens when we do a live show, y'all. We sometimes we have some technical difficulties. Because I'm like, wait a minute, Carrie, say something. I want to hear what you're saying.
Testing.
Yeah,
hold on, let me text him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on, let me.
Okay, I hear everybody now. Sorry,
All right.
but I don't know what happened, but I
Zach,
hear
hold
my
on.
sound is back.
Carrie wanted to say something. She was saying something, and I think you cut it. But Carrie,
Well, and you know what, Zach, you might have put this in your content for Monday, but he actually thinks that Black people should pay the United States reparations
I heard that.
to
Crazy
thank
shit.
them for bringing them over here. Yeah.
Thank them for enslaving us, brutalizing us, raping us, lynching us. We should thank you. We're so grateful. What kind of shit? Let me stop.
why wasn't that the piece of content? I haven't seen that video go viral.
No, he said that. I think he said that like a month or two ago.
He also said women should be allowed to vote.
He said a lot of shit. He's crazy.
He's actually a gift to the Democratic Party for North Carolina, to be honest.
Okay, wait a minute.
The down ballot is he's going to pull that entire ticket down.
Can I just say this? Because I was just having this conversation today with my friend. This is the one silver bullet and the silver lining that I will say about Donald Trump. He has been instrumental at making it so that nobody can deny none of this shit that we've been talking about for years. The fact that racism exists, people put that shit under the rug. Oh, what are you talking about? Show me the law. What are you talking about? That's not a thing. She's so nice. She's well-intentioned. They're saying it out in the open now. They're openly xenophobic. They're openly hating on the LGBT community by saying drag queens are grooming children and gay people are grooming children. They're openly attacking women and saying that women don't deserve to choose for themselves their bodily autonomy, right?
Robinson said that homosexual people are filth and they shouldn't exist. So he wasn't talking about drag queens. He's talking about anyone who is any part of the LGBTQIA plus community. You're filth.
He's emboldened
filth. And
he's emboldened Nazis. He's emboldened Nazis to come out in the daylight, to go to the Capitol buildings and stuff. He's as emboldened people. There was a supporter who said, I'm not voting for Nikki Haley because she don't got balls to scratch. You can't get more misogynistic than that. I mean, you have these people saying the quiet part out loud. I think that has been the net good. That has been the benefit, that nobody can deny that this stuff, it was all covert. It's hard to fight a battle or an enemy that you can't identify. When you got the clear target and you say, motherfucker, I see you, and nobody can hide now. It's fair game. So I think that has been the instrumental, and that's the credit that I'm going to give.
The downside to that is the hate crimes that have increased, particularly against kids in school since 2017. So yeah, it is good to expose it, because you're absolutely right, Brian. Like, we could see it and we're just like, no, he's literally right there saying this crazy stuff. But that Mark, he actually is more outlandish in the things that he says, I think, than Trump is. Like, I don't even know how. I don't know how he managed to win that primary, you guys. I didn't see who he ran against. Like, how did that even happen?
Well, he was a Trump endorsed candidate.
Most likely he's the Herschel Walker of the group. So he's just going to slide by. He's going to say the most outlandish things to kind of get Republicans on his side, because he feels like he's that token. Can't say the word, but yes.
He's definitely more articulate and more, I don't want to say more intelligent, but I kind of have to. He's definitely, he's a greater threat to American democracy and than Herschel Walker.
Yeah, he's dangerous.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I was looking really quickly for some data that I recently saw from usafacts.org. It's a great website if you guys have not been there. Pardon me, I'm coughing like Uncle Joe. It's a great website that you can go to that gives you like really great facts. And so I've used that website to kind of fact check some of the stuff already from the State of the Union. But one thing that I saw on there today was about, you talked, Carrie, about those hate crimes, right? And the rise of hate crimes. Do you know what group in America has been the victim of the most hate crimes or the greatest increase in hate crimes?
I do.
What is it?
It would be Black students in school.
That is correct. Though it has been Black students, and they are race-based hate crimes. Hate crimes are on the increase, but the biggest increase has been race-based. Then it goes down into religious-based, and then you go into those that deal with gender and sexuality. So we're sitting here thinking that all of this hatred that has been spewed out of the mouth of MAGA is impacting and hurting our trans community the most. And it is. It absolutely is. They're the most fragile community because they're smallest in number and they have fewer protections in place and they're misunderstood. But the rise again and violence towards Black children has increased significantly post-Trump. And if people aren't talking about it, it's not being addressed, but it's a harsh reality. So, and that can be verified on usafacts.org. That's the website that I go to check facts.
Mm.
And I want to say it's up over 100%, close to 100%, I believe, the reporting. Yeah, it's very scary.
So, I promised you guys I would not hold you long. I said I won't keep you past, 12 o'clock. Kenny and Brian, I gotta get up so early. I'm so tired. I'll be in it for the long haul. I'll stay up to 3 o'clock and then get up at 8 o'clock and be ready for work. But, I'm not gonna do that.
Didn't you guys travel all day?
We did travel all day. But I do want to briefly talk about Senator Britt's response to President Biden and what you guys thought of Senator Britt. Now, Brian, I see you rolling your eyes, but
I'm going to say exactly what I need to say. And what I need to say is that she was playing the quintessential white woman in distress. She was Katie Britt, who's the senator from Alabama. If you watch it, and I didn't watch the fully because we had to cut it off because we had to get on here and we had to do the show. But I watched the first maybe 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it was. And she got into at one point where she's like, her voice is near shaking. It was like, what did you do? And again, this is not me being insensitive. This is me saying that white women's tears have been weaponized in ways that have caused destruction to communities and have been historically negative for marginalized groups of people, right? And so the fact that she was there and, but Biden has created this environment where he's invited this violence from these immigrants that are coming around this country. She literally said, and this was the last thing I heard when we cut it off, she said, this girl, told a story about how she was gang raped by immigrants. And they came in there for hours and hours and I'm like, what are you talking about right now? Like, do you want to talk about this whole concept of fear mongering was taken to a next level, playing the distress, playing the fear mongering, playing the, immigrants are a threat to this nation, playing up the economy as, the conversations are hard conversations are happening around, kitchen tables like this and trying to relate to the, working class. But I'm like, your party has not been for the working class in a million years.
She was sitting in a $20 million mansion, that kitchen table. FYI, let's just keep it real though. She's
a hell of a damn kitchen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone make 20 million in Alabama? I'm just asking.
I think it is like it's over $1 million though. Someone had put up a tweet and was like, "Yeah, that kitchen table, just FYI." But she had to appeal to the Republicans have lost They've lost suburban voters, particularly women suburban voters, and that's the route that they chose to go with. But it was so inauthentic. So even like any woman looking at this, like, is this skit? Is this real? Like she could not. I don't know who was her acting coach, but they were probably sitting there cringing with the rest of us. It wasn't believable. She said something about, life was better 3 years ago. Well, who was in office 3 years ago? Biden. Thank you. I guess. I don't know. She was very unbelievable. The fear mongering and, like you said, the white woman tears. And I think she fell on her face, and she even had the green dress like The Handmaid's Tale. Did you guys notice that?
Yes, I think that was by design. Like in
Yeah.
the opening, when she first got onto the screen, and she talked about she was, it was really basically an adoration to her husband. She might as well have just said, "I'm so thankful my husband lets me out of the house to have a job." like the whole beginning in a way that she was, fawning over her husband and her important role, the most important role as a wife and mom, which is absolutely in step with the Project 2025 vision for America that, the Heritage Foundation has laid out. I thought that there were a lot of really honest and truthful things that she said in her speech.
Mm.
But who she was saying about was wrong, right? She was sitting here saying that some people in America are living a nightmare, and America is so much worse off now because of division. It is worse off now because of what we experienced because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, in 3 years or 4 years of being in office, undid so much progress, American progress, and President Biden has had to work to rebuild that and scratch towards it. And to be fair and to be honest and to be a little bit critical, I think that the beginning of the Biden administration was a little bit of a slight misstep in the fact there was a belief that people could come together. There was a belief that people would work across the aisles. There was a belief that bipartisanship could once again exist, and it
Mhm.
can, and I think that it will, but it couldn't exist as long as the threat of MAGA, the promise of MAGA, still existed. It's going to take completely killing that dream for any chance of American government to ever get back to being able to work effectively together again.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And he did say, and again, he said, don't listen to your leader. Let's work across the aisle. Let's actually pass this bill when he talked about the immigration. But one of the things that I want to talk about as well that I don't think we talked about yet is Kate Cox being in the building and him championing abortion rights, abortion access. The fact that the story is so telling, right? That Kate Cox is a woman who, from people don't know, is a Texan. Her and her husband Justin Cox wanted to get a third baby because they had 2 children already. They wanted to get a third one. She got pregnant. The daughter, because it was a girl, the daughter got this genetic condition that was life-threatening. The prognostication of the diagnosis was it was only going to be 1 week. She would have had to give birth and put the baby directly in hospice. She would have lasted a week and it would have been over. The mental trauma that comes with that, the emotional trauma that comes with that, having a baby. And I've never had one, but I'm just saying that has to be traumatic. To have a baby, put it directly in hospice, and a week later it's gone, right? Is traumatic. She didn't want that. She didn't want the daughter to suffer. That again, you have this genetic condition. There is no treatment for it. So on top of that, if the baby would have died at any point of the pregnancy, it would have caused any type of infection that could have killed her. It could have killed Kate. And you're telling me she was in that Senate chamber and Republicans needed to look at her. Republicans needed to look at her dead in the face and say, my policies, my positions, because I believe that life starts at conception is going to endanger her life, has endangered her life, and women like her. And all women in the country, because you're restricting the access. See, when we talk about abortion being healthcare, we're talking about it being something that could potentially save lives. You have a medical professional that comes in, has a conversation with their client, their patient, and gets to a point that says, we need to take care of this either by surgery, we're going to provide you this prescription, we're going to give you this medication, we're going to treat this illness or ailment, whatever it is. That's healthcare. Abortion in that instance was healthcare. It was helping her live. And you're telling me these Republicans cannot do this reflection and be self-introspective and say, you look at this shit now. Look at what you're doing. And he also talked about IVF and protecting IVF. People who want to build families who otherwise can't do it through the natural ways, who want to have been built this. You want people to have kids, but they can't do it on their own. They're going to want IVF. And this will be something that moves the needle in this election. Make no mistake about it. All these people talk about some abortion ain't moving no needles. It's moving the needle. There's going to be there's a silent majority of women across all different races, across all segments of the population that are going to vote to protect their rights, because people don't like their rights to be taken away.
No, they don't. I read just a little tidbit, y'all. I went down a rabbit hole on the Heritage Foundation's website with regards to IVF. And I actually came up with an article, an opinion piece that someone had written last year. And do you guys want to know the reason why the Heritage Foundation has taken a stance against IVF?
Why?
Because if God does not allow, that God doesn't, you can't have a child because God doesn't want you to. Is that their philosophy?
Nope, it's based on hate. It's based on hate.
Oh Lord.
It's
So what?
Oh
because
yeah, they definitely don't want to be able to for same gender loving couples to have
yes,
children.
yes. So
Yeah,
they
that's
wrote this
definitely a
in
big part of the
yeah.
platform.
Yeah, they wrote it in response to Senator Duckworth, I believe, had introduced some legislation last year when the Democrats actually had the House, I believe, where it was going to expand access to IVF. And it also was to same sex couples, also to single people. And then also there was a bipartisan commission that was formed that wanted to look to see how they could make IVF more affordable and have insurance companies cover it for
Hmm.
more families. So now you've got the money involved, right? So you
Mhm.
know the lobbying for the insurance
And
companies
there
like,
you
well,
have it.
hell no, hell no. And then also too, you absolutely cannot have, same-sex couples, producing families and whatnot. So that was their argument. They based it off some eugenic shit, like saying, oh no, IVF babies have a higher rate of Down syndrome and asthma and birth defects, which none of
That's
that
not
is true,
true.
by the way. Um, but but truthfully, it was about the same sex couples, single people, and the money aspect of it. That was the whole thing.
Mm.
As far as the baby defect, that's a damn lie because my sister, she goes through IVF. She just had her baby inserted on her just a week ago. So there's that.
And
Um,
I think they're actually healthier.
they are healthier actually.
Yeah.
They go through if there is a if there's a defect in the child, the fetus doesn't even survive. So
Hmm. Yeah.
that's what's going on with that.
Yeah.
As far as everything else goes, it just kind of shows that the hypocrisy of Republicans, you can't claim to be pro-life if you're not supporting babies being born. It's such like IVF, things that especially women who go through so many issues when it comes to all these fertility issues, when it comes to even having a baby. My sister used to have ectopic pregnancies, which made her go into IVF because she literally lost 4 babies already and her life was threatened and she
Yeah.
lives in Texas. So these things are very important. So I'm glad that Joe Biden called them out on this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. And I love how he also ended the speech talking about age. He said, there was a point in time in my career. He's like, I've been doing this for a long time. There was a point in time where I was young. I was considered too young to do certain things. And now I'm
Yep.
considered too damn old,
Too
right?
old.
Which showing that, that you never can please anybody. It's always going to be something going on. But he also talked about the fact that it is, and I love that he said it this way. It's about the age of your ideas. And he said this on the Seth Meyers interview. If y'all watched the late night episode, he said it's about the age of my ideas. I am optimistic. I have a path forward. I have charted a course. I am outlining to you all the plan forward. It's
Hmm.
futuristic and it's forward thinking. The other guy is going to take us to the damn Stone Ages. He's trying to regress, take our rights away. We need to be staunch, fighters of reproductive rights and voting rights and all this stuff. I love that he also talked about the voting rights.
Yeah.
So he said my ideas, the age of my ideas is young, and that's very much in touch with what the new generations need and generations want. They're craving
Yeah.
expansion of rights, not taking away rights. So I love that that's where he ended because he acknowledged. I think he put this shit to the end. You know what I'm
I think
saying?
he
Like
did too.
he put it all to an end. Not only with just that, but the fact his energy, he brought energy. He was sharp. He was clear. He was concise. He knew what he was talking about. He knew his message, and he came off as a fighter. And that's what people want.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He had to clear his throat a few times, coughed a few times because he was reading them for
Hmm.
filth. Okay. He had to quench his thirst. Okay. That's why his ass was coughing the way he was.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I got a little nervous when he got off script a little bit. I was like, oh, what's gonna
I
happen?
know. I did too.
No, no,
I got
I was
nervous.
never nervous. You know, we love spicy Joe.
But I got nervous because I was like, I know sometimes if you go off script and you not that he gets off message because he's really good with staying on message, but I know that sometimes he can get a little excited and his stuttering problem could come back up. He does a great job of controlling it because he has trained himself to do it for a while. But then people play on that and say, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about, or use it as a soundbite as a clip to show that he's not accurate. His mental acuity is off. He was sharp even when he went off script. He had it right, and he leaned into storytelling. Or even when he got, he had to get, he's like, oh, so y'all don't like that bill? Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I have you on record. That's master shit. Master shit. He did it masterfully. And again, I did get a little nervous, but I think he did it. He did it well. He hit it the nails on the head.
The good thing about Joe is he might be the oldest, but he is the most accomplished, and that just speaks to his wisdom.
Yeah, no matter what happens in November, this legacy is cemented. The legacy of the Biden-Harris administration is going to go down as a historic administration for the American people, and I'm just hopeful and prayerful that we're going to get 4 more years to see the fullness of that administration and see how he's going to rise into the top 10 of all American presidents, possibly even higher, top 5. Because of what he has been able to do. The American economy is on a stable path for the next 3 decades. They say 2 decades, but I'm gonna say it's gonna even be further than that because what has happened with the infrastructure bill and the CHIPS Act is going to allow for American innovation to continue to move forward. So what has been provided for in infrastructure and chips is going to give us 20 years of economic stability. But I believe
It's
it's going to actually
amazing.
more because Americans are going to innovate and they're going to push for it and they're going to do some really great things. I want to thank everybody who's been watching us on the Twitter. So going live on Twitter has done it was great. Like we are at like 12, yeah, we have 1,200 people watching, like right now in the moment, many of them on Twitter, like 1,239 total from all 3 platforms. Instagram they don't let you stream for 1 hour, then they cut it off. So they just cut off. But the bulk of our followers have been on Twitter. We appreciate you. We love you. We thank you. But we need you to also follow the YouTube. Okay. Like follow YouTube. Twitter ain't paying a dime across the board for nothing. Go follow the YouTube. You get stuff. We're going to go live on Tuesdays. We're going to come back, bring the band back together. We're opening it up. So those of you who are watching and you want to jump on the live, you see how we do it. You see how it goes. We want you to join us. We can have up to, I think, 6 people comfortably on any given night that we stream. And we'd love to have you engage these conversations and be here with us and talk about these issues because we're in it seems like the beginning of the push towards November 2024, but it's really not. We're in a sprint. We're not in a marathon. We're in a sprint, and we are sprinting to the end of a 4-year cycle of hard work and commitment to bring our country back from the brink of disaster and ruin and collapse of American democracy. And we need every fighter in the fight that we can get to get the message out and to get the word out and to really talk about what this administration has done and what this administration plans to then do. So follow on the YouTube 3+1 Media, share accordingly. It'll be greatly appreciated. Also, want to shout out our sister and brother, Tiffany and Jose. They have a phenomenal YouTube program and channel as well, Candidly Tips YouTube, and they go live often. They do, I think, an episode every week. Look at those great thumbnails. They should have way more followers and way more viewers too. So, and we hope to have them with us too soon as well. So it's just, again, all of us, the whole family. We want to see all of you guys here, and we're going to keep it up. Guys, some thoughts? Closing thoughts?
I'll just
Oh, yeah.
say this in closing. The onus is on us. So let's make sure that we uplift our president. All the information that he put out as far as what they've been able to do within the last 3 years, make sure you guys share anything. If you have your own personal stories about how student loan debt forgiveness has helped you and your family, share those stories. It's really on us. We should put our faces behind the message because it's really for the American people. So make sure you share those stories. Make sure you share those links. If you know anybody who might be able to benefit from some said policies or don't even know about any bills that's been sent on the federal level to your local legislation, make sure you call your local government, see what they're doing, hold them accountable, make them actually invest the money that's been sent from Biden into the American people in your local state government. That's all I got to add.
Yeah.
Carrie, you want to add first before I go? Or you?
I just wanted to say, first of all, that made me remember when he said, "Oh, well, just let me know if you don't want any of that money in your district." Like, I
Exactly.
loved when he said that. I was like, yes, I love that. No, I think it's really important that we lift up the voices that tend to get drowned up on social media. You know, you lift up those that are talking about the accomplishments of this administration, because I am a firm believer that there is something that this administration has done that could benefit just about everybody. And that's why I am so passionate about it, because I know, you know, how the administration has changed my life and also my family's. Like, my entire family's had their student loans forgiven, y'all.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
All of them, you know. And so you just, you know, it I feel good about going into November, but again, it's going to take all of us to make sure that we are lifting up the right
These
voices, and
primary
we're, you know,
results make me feel
yeah.
good. The primary
Yeah.
results make me
Yeah.
feel good. Like when you see the fact that Donald Trump should be the heir apparent, that Donald Trump, you know, should be at the same level of an incumbent. That's what media wants us to believe, that he's like, even that he's stronger than Biden. Okay, so he should be at the level of an incumbent, but he
Right.
has not received more than he's lost 20% of the vote in every primary he's been in. At least 20% of the vote. So at least 20% of Republicans in every single state that there's been a primary are saying that Donald Trump is not their candidate.
Come on.
Those
Yeah.
voters are in play. Many of those voters are either not going to vote or they're going to vote for Joe Biden, and that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what I wanted to say is that first and foremost, I think that tonight was not the be all, like the be all end all. Like, it was an amazing night. I think we started this was the kickoff of the messaging that will continue for the next 8 months, right? That we have up until November, and that we need to make sure that we are capitalizing on this moment. We need to continue using the primary results as motivators. We have to continue to use this messaging as motivators, and there's going to be more to come, because this is just, you know, this speech, because I think it was so historic, because there's been things that has never been done before in terms of the justices being called out to their face, in terms of, you know, they're going to cover the Marjorie Taylor Greene situation. They're going to cover all these things. It's going to continue. The coverage is going to continue, right? But I think it's incumbent upon us, like Kenny is saying, like Zach is saying, like Carrie's saying, we have to make sure that we're continuing to do the work and uplifting the accomplishments and celebrate that. And really just thinking about, like, at the end of the day, what is the end goal that we want to accomplish, right? What do we know that our vote's going to amount to? When we think about our votes, I think that when people are like, oh, my vote doesn't matter, your vote matters. It's going to get us to that point. Even the people who in the comment section talking about oh, I live in a red state, my vote doesn't matter. No, your vote matters. You know why it matters? Because at the end of the day, even if you're going to be at the end total in the tally, when that the majority votes,
the popular vote.
Thank you, the popular vote. And we're going to be able to use that and say, look, America supports this because you're part of that upteenth millions that actually support that. And we can use that number as a metric and say, we can go to the bully pulpit and say, this is what Americans want. We want to accomplish. Therefore, this agenda, therefore for these policies, therefore this legislation. Let's get it done. So you're part of that movement, and that you're a part of that conversation. You're always going to matter in all these different ways. So make sure that you're voting, that you're taking your people out to vote, and that you're paying attention to these next 8 months and uplifting this administration, because we're doing the work.
Yeah.
And with that said, everybody, we will see you on Tuesday. Can't wait to see what pops off over the weekend. Hopefully not much. Hopefully it's going to be a nice, peaceful weekend. But this is America, and we know that will not be the case. See y'all soon.
Bye.